Good morning students. Welcome to the English class. I am Dr. Tripti Gupta from Shivjyoti Education Group Kota. Today we are going to take up your footprint book and we will take up chapter number 9, that is Bholi, written by A.K. Abbas. Now students, before moving to our chapter, we will first take a look on some details about K.A. Abbas, our author of this chapter. Students, our author Khwaja Ahmad Abbas, popularly known as K.A. Abbas, was born on 7th June 1914. He was a popular Indian film director, novelist, screenwriter and a journalist. He excelled in Urdu, Hindi and English languages. Abbas began his career as a journalist in National Call, a New Delhi based paper, after finishing his BA. After completing his education in Aligarh Muslim University, Abbas joined Bombay Chronicle in 1935. He worked as film critic and then became the editor of the film section. He entered films as a part-time for publicity of Bombay Talkie in 1936, a production house owned by Himanshu Rai and Devika Rani, to whom he sold his first screenplay, Naya Sansar, in 1941. In 1951, he founded his own production company called Naya Sansar, which consistently produced films that were socially relevant, including Anhoni, Munna, Rahi in 1953, Seher Aur Sapna in 1964, Saath Hindustani in 1969. So, these were few of the very major throwbacks which were being produced by his production house. Abbas autobiography, I Am Not an Island, an experiment in autobiography, was first published in 1977 and later released in 2010. Abbas had his last breath at the age of 72, 1st June 1987 in Mumbai. So, this was all about our author here. Now, students, let us move to the chapter Bholi. So, students, our chapter Bholi starts here. Bholi is a small little girl. She is the protagonist here in our story. The complete story revolves around her, and she is a small little very innocent. As we can see, the title of the story, Bholi, is a Hindi word that means innocent child, a girl child who is innocent very and who could be easily deceived or can be directed in any manner like that. So, any person who is very innocent from the heart is being considered to be Bhola. Okay. So, this is what our protagonist Bholi is. Her name is being christened as Sulekha, but later on she was being called Bholi by her family. Now, this girl is basically the fourth daughter of Nambardar Ramlal, and this girl was especially bit dumb-witted. We can say she was not that bright and intelligent girl. Okay. And this happened just because she met an accident when she was very young, very infant. She was hardly 10 months old. Okay. So, and then lots of things happened. She was being a neglected child in the family, and how she grew and then how she transformed herself. This is all about there in this story, and how finally she took a decision for herself and took a stand on the basis of the way she was being groomed by her teacher. So, now let us move ahead with our chapter here, line by line. Her name was Sulekha, but since her childhood everyone had been calling her Bholi, the simpleton. Simpleton means a very innocent person. Okay. So, she was the fourth daughter of Nambardar Ramlal. When she was 10 months old, she had fallen off the cot on her head and perhaps it had damaged some part of her brain. That was why she remained a backward child and came to be known as Bholi the simpleton. So, as I discussed that this incident when she fell down from the cot when she was hardly 10 months old, a part of her brain was damaged, and because of that damage she was not that bright and intelligent student. She was a laggard and a backward child, and that is how she was being named as Bholi. Okay. So, at birth the child was very fair and pretty, but when she was 2 years old she had an attack of smallpox. Only the eyes were saved, but the entire body was permanently disfigured by deep black pock marks. So, as you can see, you must have experienced this around you also, that whenever a person who suffers smallpox, there are small round marks which are black in color. They come on the on that part where the attack is actually been. So, similar smallpox attack was being suffered by Bholi, and here she ultimately it resulted in a very bad disfigured face as well as, so there were lot of black pock marks on her face and entire body, and that actually damaged all her beauty and appearance. Okay. So, little Sulekha could not speak till she was 5, and when at last she learned to speak, she stammered. The other children often made fun of her and mimicked her. As a result, she talked very little. Now, another aspect of her personality was that she started talking very late, somewhere around 5 years of her age, and when she started talking she started stammering. Okay, because probably it was lack of confidence, and when everybody started making fun, the children nearby her, they started making fun of her, they mocked her, and they were just copying her. Mimicking means to copy someone. Okay. So, the way she spoke was being copied, that was mimicked by other children. So, she felt ashamed of that and she started talking very less. She was being very hesitant while talking. Okay. So, Ramlal had 7 children, 3 sons and 4 daughters, and the youngest of them was Bholi. It was prosperous farmer's household and there was plenty to eat and drink. All the children except Bholi were healthy and strong. The sons had been sent to city to study in schools and later in colleges. Of the daughters, Radha, the eldest, had been settled, and when that was done, Ramlal would think of third. Of the daughters, Radha, the eldest, had already been married. The second daughter, Mangala's marriage had also been settled, and when that was done, Ramlal would think of the third, Champa. So, now here see, you can see the complete family was comprising of 7 children, and the Nambardar Ramlal. Nambardars are those people in the villages who are being assigned a government authority. They are being authorized by the government to collect the revenue. Okay, so they are basically government employees, we can say. Okay, so the family was a prosperous and rich family, affluent one, and that is why there was a lot, they were having a lot to eat and drink. So, there was no scarcity of any of the resources, and there was 7 children, 3 sons and 4 daughters. So, all the brothers of Bholi, they were being sent to go for higher education, even to colleges, and before that they were sent to towns for their schooling also. Whereas the girls out of her sisters, the eldest one was been already married, and the second one, that is Mangala, her marriage was already been fixed. And third one is Champa, who was been enough big that after Mangala's marriage they would think of Champa's marriage also. And they were all good looking healthy girls, and it was not difficult to find bridegrooms for them. So all her sisters were very nice pretty girls, and they were healthy girls, and there was finally they did not find any difficulty in settling those girls and marrying them. Okay. So, but Ramlal was worried about Bholi. She had neither good looks nor intelligence. So, all the matter came to a botheration. It became a botheration for Ramlal, because Bholi was not been an intelligent child, and also she was not a good looking person also. So, that is why he was been always worrying about that how and who will marry Bholi. Okay. So, with this concern, finally Ramlal he married Mangala when Mangala is the second daughter, okay, and he married Mangala when Bholi was hardly 7 years old. The same year, a primary school for girls was opened in their village. The Tehsildar Sahib came to perform its opening ceremony. He said to Ramlal, as a revenue official, you are the representative of the government in the village, and so you must set an example to the villagers. You must send your daughters to school. Now, in that ceremony, when there was a primary school being inaugurated, in that inauguration ceremony, Tehsildar, who is basically a magistrate level government official, he came for the inauguration, and he suggested Ramlal that being a government official, being a revenue collector, you must send your daughters to the school to that, because people will follow you, you have to set an example in front of the villagers. So, you must send your daughters to school. Now, after this, that night when Ramlal consulted his wife, she cried, "Are you crazy? If girls go to school, who will marry them?" Now, this idea was being discarded by his wife, because she was having a very conservative and orthodox approach towards the education of girls. So, she considered that if her daughters would study, certainly it will be very difficult for them to search for bridegrooms for these girls. Okay. So, with this thought, she discarded the idea to send her daughters to school. But Ramlal had not the courage to disobey the Tehsildar. At last his wife said, "I will tell you what to do. Send Bholi to school, as it is there a little chance for her getting married with her ugly face and lack of sense. Let the teachers at school worry about her." So, finally, to find out a way out, because Ramlal was unable to deny to the request which the Tehsildar has made. Basically, this was rather maybe he could not just let his saying to just go like that. He had to follow the that aspect. That means he has to obey the Tehsildar. So, with respect to that, finally Bholi's mother came out with an idea that they should send Bholi to school, because they felt that Bholi is not an proper eligible candidate, and probably she may not get married to anybody because she is not pretty enough, not intelligent enough. So, let us send Bholi to school and let the teachers handle her, and let her decide, her teachers decide, and let them worry about her. So, we can send Bholi to school. So, this was being decided by the family that finally Bholi will be sent to school. Now, this became a turning point in Bholi's life. Okay. See here, the next day Ramlal caught Bholi by the hand and said, "Come with me, I will take you to school." Bholi was frightened. She did not know what a school was like. She remembered how a few days ago their old cow Lakshmi had been turned out of the house and sold. Now, since Bholi had never experienced and she had not seen the school, and because of that lack of awareness about school, she was very frightened when she was asked by Ramlal, and she was scared of the idea because she has just seen the previous day that her old cow was been sent out of the house and it was been sold to someone. So, she was been assuming that something of that sort may happen with her also. So, that is why she was been very anxious and frightened also, okay, with this idea, and she was been stammering, "No, no, 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 no." She shouted in terror and pulled her hand away from her father's grip. So, she wanted to escape from there, and she denied to go to school to her father. "What's the matter with you, you fool?" shouted Ramlal. "I am only taking you to school." So, Ramlal was a bit agitated on Bholi's reaction, and he started scolding her that, "I am not hurting you, I am just taking you to the school." Then he told his wife, "Let her wear some decent clothes today, and or else what will the teachers and the other school girls think of us when they see her?" So, see what happened here is, since Bholi was a neglected child, she was never being given a very proper, she was not being made new dresses, and she was not being well taken care by the family. So, today since she was going to school, so her father Ramlal, he asked his wife to just to make to give her decent clothes, to groom her properly, to dress her hair properly, so that their image in front of the villagers and teachers, it will be retained. So, that was the basic reason to give to groom Bholi properly. Okay. Now, with this intention, new clothes had never been made for Bholi. Okay. So, that I discussed with you, that she was being a neglected child. So, that is why never new clothes were not been given to Bholi. The old dresses of her sisters were passed on to her. No one cared to mend or wash her clothes. But today she was lucky to receive a clean dress which had shrunk after many washings and no longer fitted Champa. She was even bathed, and oil was rubbed into her dry and matted hair. Only then she began to believe that she was being taken to a place better than her home. Now, the way she was being groomed by her mother, she was being given a bath, and then her hair were also being dressed. The oil was being, she was rubbed with the oil on her head, and then she was being groomed properly. Her hair were being dressed properly, and she received, she was being given a very nice clean dress, though it was an old one and was passed on from her elder sister Champa. But then she was been realizing this aspect, that everybody was being worried about grooming her in a nice manner. So, that is why what happened, that she started realizing this, that probably the school must be a very important place, where she is going to be there, because she is finding that that place must be a good place. So that's why they are been grooming me in this manner. Okay. Now, when they reached the school, the children were already in their classrooms. Ramlal handed over his daughter to headmistress. Left alone, the poor girl looked about her with fear-laden eyes. There were several rooms, and in each room, girls like her squatted on mats, reading from books or writing on slates. The headmistress asked Bholi to sit down in a corner of one of the classrooms. So, finally, they reached the school, and what Bholi saw over there, that there are number of classrooms, and the girls which are been sitting on the mat, they are been like they are been sitting cross-legged. Okay, like we sit on floor and we just cross our legs. In that posture, all the girls were sitting, they were reading and writing. Okay, so she was being handed over to the headmistress, and later on headmistress, she took her in the corridors where she observed the girls, and finally she was being settled in one of the corners in one of the classrooms. Okay, so finally Bholi did not know what exactly a school was like and what happened there, but she was glad to find so many girls almost of her own age present there. She hoped that one of these girls might become her friends. So up till now she has just had a glance. She just still she was not able to understand what exactly the school is all about. But what she perceived was that there were so many girls who were there along with her in her classroom. Now she was hopeful about that probably she will be able to make some new friends, because she was not having any of the friends. Okay. The lady teacher who was in the class was saying something to the girls, but Bholi could understand nothing. She looked at the pictures on the wall. The colors fascinated her. The horse was brown, just like the horse on which the Tehsildar had come to visit their village. The goat was black like the goat of their neighbor. The parrot was green like the parrot she had seen in the mango orchard. And the cow was just like their Lakshmi. And suddenly Bholi noticed that the teacher was standing by her side smiling at her. Now, when she was been sitting there, she was unable to grasp anything, whatever the teacher was been saying to the girls, and that's why she just started focusing, and she was looking towards the various pictures which were there on the walls of the classroom. And what she found a brown horse which she resembled to be the same as the Tehsildar's horse. Okay, and then she found a black goat which was very similar to her neighbor's black goat, and she was being able to identify these animals, the parrot as well as the cow also. She found it to be very similar to her own cow Lakshmi. Okay, and while she was being totally grasped by these pictures, and she was being very fascinated towards the colors and the display of those pictures. So at that very moment she just noticed that her teacher was been just standing nearby her, and she had not been looking at her up. She has not come to know about that teacher has come to her. Okay. So teacher asked her, "What's your name, little one?" She could stammer no further than that. Then she began to cry, and tears flowed from her eyes in a helpless flood. She kept her head down as she sat in her corner, not daring to look up at the girls who she knew were still laughing at her. When the school bell rang, all the girls scurried out of the classroom, but Bholi dared not leave her corner. Her head still lowered, she kept on sobbing. So, when the teacher was there, she asked her name very politely, but since Bholi used to stammer, she was unable to speak her name even, and everybody in the class was been laughing at her, finding everybody to be she was being ashamed of that she is unable to speak her name even. So, with that feeling of shameful feeling, she started crying bitterly, and she kept crying for some time. And then after the period was over, the girls, they all just in a very hurrying manner, they all left the class, but Bholi stayed there itself in her corner, lowered her head all the time, and she was still sitting over there, and she was been sobbing, and still she was been crying. So, the teacher here, she went to Bholi and she addressed her. Bholi, the teacher's voice was so soft and soothing. In all her life, she had never been called like that. It touched her heart. So, when the teacher addressed her in a very sweet and very soothing, in a very touching manner, her voice was so lovely, and Bholi had never been addressed in such a loving manner with lot of concern. So, that moved Bholi to deep in her heart, and that's why she just paid attention to her teacher, and she found her to be a very kind hearted and nice lady. Okay. Get up, said the teacher. It was not a command, but just a friendly suggestion. Bholi got up. Now tell me your name. So, finally the teacher made an effort. She asked her to get up and to tell her name. Sweat broke out over her whole body. Would her stammering tongue again disgrace her? For the sake of this kind woman, however, she decided to make an effort. She had such a soothing voice, she would not laugh at her. See, when Bholi stood, what thought process was going on in her mind was that she found that lady to be a very kind and generous lady. So, she decided that she will certainly make an effort, because she was being conscious and she was being still scared that probably if she will speak out, would she able to speak, or will she again stammer like the way she stammered previously. Okay. So, with this complete doubt, she was being not confident enough. So, she was being doubtful about her own ability to speak. So, but she decided that she will make an effort, and just because that she felt that this teacher would not laugh at her, she will not make fun of her even if she stammered. Okay. So, she began to stammer. Well done, the teacher encouraged her. Come on now, the full name. So, when she started stammering again, then the teacher came out and she was encouraging Bholi to tell her name, and with that encouragement, finally, Bholi, at last she was able to say it and felt relieved as if it was a great achievement. So, finally, Bholi was able to tell her name, and that was an accomplishment. She was feeling that it was an achievement for her to tell her name. Well done. The teacher patted her affectionately and said, put the fear out of your heart, and you will be able to speak like everyone else. Now, the teacher she started motivating her that it is just your fear that is making you to stammer like this. If you just keep it out from your mind, probably you will very easily learn to speak like any other student. Okay. But Bholi looked up as if to ask, really? So, Bholi was looking with a very interrogative, in a very questioning manner towards her teacher, and she was being not able to, she was still doubtful and looking to her in a manner that really can it happen actually?